get your political fix from the PolitiChicks.
Ladies and gentlemen, SEO.
As was noted, my dear late friend Andrew Breitbart, and I'm sure I am not the first to talk about him today or at this conference, he and I would get into a lot of arguments late night in weird places over copious glasses of alcohol about the role of culture in conservative politics. And I feel like people look to me and my generation a lot to sort of be culturally savvy, culturally aware. And I am. I like movies and television and music. I like that stuff. And I certainly, it is part of my generation. But I also feel like they look to my generation of conservatives to marry conservative politics and the popular culture. And Andrew felt that this was an important project to make conservatism a part of the popular culture the way that liberalism is. That was an important thing for him. And actually we argue about it, because as much as I love culture, I actually don't feel the obligation or the urgency to make conservatism cool or to get anyone's approval. Certainly not the folks, in Hollywood. The idea that we want to fit in with that crowd really just never appealed to me. As much as I like pop culture, and I write about pop culture and talk about it a lot, it doesn't seem to me a worthwhile project for conservatives for a number of reasons. One, I think we lose pretty much every time. And when we try to make conservative cultural moments happen, and we're more worried about the conservatism than actually making good art, I think that shows and people can tell. And I think it's a strike against us. And two, like I said, I find this particular crowd one that I think we need to be trying to fit in with. I think most people around the country find Hollywood to be pretty debased, pretty immoral, valueless, fun and interesting and cool sometimes, sure, but I think most people are smart enough to separate what's fun to watch on TV and what you don't want your kids taking lessons from. They're not one and the same. And I think people in Hollywood, certainly it's part of the liberal ethos, they think they are one and the same. They think that there are values and lessons to be learned in these pop cultural, projects. And thirdly, I'd like to remind everyone that conservatism, in fact, does have a popular culture. Because when you think of, pop culture has a class implications, but it also literally just means a culture that is popular. And our culture of service, charity, faith, family, this is an incredibly popular culture. People like Glenn Beck, my boss, are a testament to this being an incredibly popular culture already. The fact that he can leave a network and go off and start his own, and everyone follows him there, and is engaged in what he's doing and his charity projects, and it's a culture that we have created. And whether it's, NASCAR for me or hunting or whatever it is that you do in your spare time, church, the things you do with your family on Sundays, that is, I would wager, an incredibly popular culture, if not the majority culture in this country. So I think what conservatives have to do is A, celebrate the culture we already have, and reinforce that we already have a popular culture. We don't have to co-opt or try to fit in to another one. Ours is working, and ours is the majority culture. Theirs is the minority culture. It's not mainstream anymore. That is not a mainstream value system. They insist it is, and they have large microphones, so it feels like it is, but it isn't. So it's up to conservatives to use press and online media, social networking, as we all do, to reinforce those values, that they already exist, like conservatism says, nothing new under the sun. They already exist. We're not going to reinvent the wheel here, and we're not going to allow Hollywood and liberalism to tell us what kind of culture we have to adopt, and we have to fit into it, and we have to pass on to our kids. So you might meet people, especially at this conference, who disagree with me. People like my dear friend Andrew Breitbart, who really firmly believed that we can sort of override the liberal, conservative divide in pop culture and make conservatism cool and appealing to a young generation. There is a large group of people that really believes that that's an important project. They're not wrong. I just think we should stand on good policies that work and recognize that we might be trying to fit into a culture that is completely anathema and against the values that we all hold so dear.